It shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone interested in the gaming industry that Halo is not the juggernaut of a franchise it once was. You'd be hard-pressed to find recent community videos that don't share that very sentiment. I've watched countless video essays and carefully made think pieces rightfully criticizing the art style and writing we see in 343's Halo. But the reason I wanted to make this video is to dissect 343's story so far, determine whether it's worth advancing, and consider what steps should be taken moving forward. Undeniably, one of the hardest missteps to overlook in 343's story is the sheer number of retcons and changes that directly affect the existing lore. Bungie certainly has their fair share of retcons too, but none which alter the world building or grander story to the same degree as 343. I have plenty of friends who are either uninterested or uninformed on Halo's story, and one of the first things I bring up with respect to its narrative fall-off is how 343 killed off a main character, revived them, and killed them again. That's Cortana, by the way. With Halo 4 introducing drastic tonal and visual changes to what we know as Halo, 343 has also been entirely unable to stick with any of them, killing Cortana only to reintroduce her as a villain in Halo 5, and subsequently killing her again, now off-screen in Infinite. Not only has her character been assassinated, but the utter lack of confidence in how to write this character only serves as tonal whiplash for the player. While not being an outright retcon, another change was the complete redundancy and exclusion of the ODSTs from mainline 343 games. This comes as a result of the Spartan 4 program, 343's solution to allow for anyone to become a Spartan without the risks or stakes of previous iterations. No more is the Spartan program an ethically questionable process for select individuals. As if written for the MCU, now anyone can become a Spartan if they have the adequate skills and mindset. Despite not having seen a threat on the scale of the Covenant since its collapse, the UNSC funds the continuous training and augmentation of new Spartan 4s. Just like that, the fan-favorite ODSTs are left obsolete, thanks to 343's obsession with creating quote-unquote Spartan stories. Even still, there's one change that bugs me more. Bungie's lore has outlined clear connections between the humans and Forerunners. Keen-eyed lore enthusiasts know of the planned Forerunner tomb containing a human body for Halo 2. But even devoted 343 fanboys can't deny that Guilty Spark and the Gravemind literally say it to your face. Having the player connect the dots and make the realization that humans and Forerunners are one and the same would have made for a really compelling story, opening our eyes to the fact that we're the descendants of those who created the equally awe-inspiring and destructive technology of the Halo rings. Instead, the Forerunners are demoted to a rival civilization of ancient humanity. Despite their technology being ever-present in the games with monitors, weapons, and of course the namesake Halo rings, they're now largely unimportant to the story following the death of the Didact. Don't worry, that got retconned too. But in books that you'll have to read in order to connect any of the 343 games with a semblance of continuity. As if these changes weren't damaging enough, they're compounded by the lore created to explain the changes, even going so far as to canonize the multiplayer as a training simulation. I'm sorry, but quote-unquote nanobots upgraded his armor is not a necessary or believable explanation for the design changes of a stranded Master Chief alone in space. The sheer amount of changes and retcons made by 343 now necessitate the question, where do we go from here? Or perhaps, should we be going anywhere in the first place? Halo is not the first franchise to experience a sharp decline after consecutive successes, and it certainly won't be the last. While 343's titles are widely panned as lackluster in many aspects, they do provide some redeeming qualities. For example, Halo 4 portrayed an interesting potential B-plot with the relationship between Cortana and the Chief, only to be diminished by the poorly executed A-plot with the Didact. Halo 5 had an unconventional yet satisfying multiplayer ideal for a spin-off title, despite the campaign being the worst in franchise history. Halo Infinite was a return to form in art style and multiplayer, with the competent Forge mode as well, but dragged down by its extremely poor post-launch content rollout. You'll notice that despite these additions being generally good, none of them contribute to the world building or progression of the story in a meaningful way. All that said, just because a franchise finds itself in a pit doesn't mean it has to stay there. Recently, I've been drawn to the new direction of DC films under James Gunn, finding massive mainstream appeal with the release of Superman. This is a film which disregards the Superman and Justice League story told previously, providing a clean slate for which to establish a more thought-out direction. The Peacemaker show was also retconned in order to fit within Gunn's new direction, doing away with Season 1's ending. It's examples like this which lead me to believe that the best step for the franchise is also a clean slate, but not in the way that you might first imagine. I mean a fresh start from where Bungie left off, retconning 343's story and picking up after the events of Halo 3. We know 343 are no strangers to retcons, so how difficult would it be to categorize their story as a separate timeline? The TV show already does this, with it commonly being referred to as the Silver Timeline. People are rightfully concerned about the presence of 343 within Halo Studios, and making a step like this would help alleviate that concern, simultaneously putting the new team in a better position to bring us a true return to form. The fan-made mod Halo New Covenant accomplishes exactly this, telling a compelling story following the events of Halo 3, written as if 343's titles never succeeded it. This is a story so believable within the framework of Halo, offering a clear explanation for things like Covenant remnants, while maintaining the human Sangheili alliance we see in Halo 3. It continues the Chief's story in a manner that respects previous material, portraying his armor and weapons in a way that's recognizable to fans. We can even see the presence of the Flood, which have been wholly missing between all of 343's games. This all sounds great on paper, but let's now cover how I would personally put this new direction into practice. Bungie's last two titles were spin-off games, but as far as the story progression is concerned, they left off at Halo 3. For this reason, I think it's best for Halo Studios to put forth some spin-off titles first. Clearly, this has been a consideration for them given the rumored Combat Evolved remake that fans are expecting to be just around the corner. I think there's a genuine sense of Reclaimer Saga fatigue within the Halo community, and a remake paired with a spin-off title such as maybe Halo ODST 2 would be a refreshing change of pace before stepping into a mainline title. Imagine a grounded take on the universe post-Human Covenant War, following a team of ODSTs engaged in combat with Covenant remnants, akin to that of the New Covenant mod. Tactical gameplay similar to the first ODST game, maybe even including combined operations with the Arbiter's allied elites. This could be a single-player focused title providing context for the creation and the fall of the remnants in a way unlike Halo 4, which largely leaned on external media to provide any answers. Or perhaps an idea I've had for the longest time, a multiplayer invasion spin-off, inspired by the likes of Battlefield and Star Wars Battlefront. Large-scale combined arms gameplay featuring the UNSC versus the Covenant, maybe with the inclusion of an in-depth weapon customization and class system. Spin-off games are in very high demand among the community, and these ideas would certainly appease many, but the subsequent mainline titles will need to be just as carefully handled. We know that Halo 3 concludes with a satisfying arc for the Master Chief, but if he is to return, knowing Microsoft's lack of confidence in the franchise without him, the threat needs to be grand enough to warrant his action. If using a title like ODST 2 can contextualize the world post-Covenant and the subsequent defeat of the Covenant remnants, perhaps Chief's return can be prompted by a new yet familiar threat: the Banished. As it stands, the best portrayal of the Banished is not in a 343 title, but actually in Halo Wars 2, the real-time strategy game. Throughout my playthrough of Halo Infinite, I was often left asking, what actually even are the motivations of this group? Are they seriously expected to be understood as anything more than space pirates? 343 has been entirely unsuccessful in framing the Banished as an equal or greater threat than the Covenant. While the Prophets have clear intentions, using religious zealotry to maintain control and ensure passage to the Great Journey, the Banished are depicted as just being motivated by acquiring power. Truthfully, this is kind of boring and lazy writing, so how can we alter it to make it more interesting? Consider this: a faction of brutes more united than ever following the collapse of the Covenant. They're fueled by rage and trauma stemming from the Prophet's indoctrination. With humanity occupying the power vacuum in the Covenant's absence, they fear becoming subservient once more. The solution? eradication of humanity and Sangheili alike. By rallying together some of the other species like grunts, jackals, drones, and hunters, they recover Covenant weapons and vehicles, preparing their assault while humanity still recovers from the war. Imagine a climactic moment in the story where their Atriox-type leader realizes how the intensity of his trauma has led to countless bodies and even more senseless violence. In a moment similar to the events that changed the Arbiter's worldview, he recognizes that his fears have turned him into the character he so deeply despised, ruling over others in pursuit of a selfish and misguided goal. Maybe he's able to stop his assault. Maybe it's too late. There are plenty of directions to go once a clear motivation is established. If the writers are up to the task, maybe we can get the multidimensional characters and societal commentary that Halo has been so sorely missing. Despite the many missteps by 343, Halo still maintains incredible narrative potential. Many fans, myself included, just feel that the direction of the narrative has strayed too far from the established canon and source material. While a retcon of 3 mainline titles is certainly a drastic call to make, I think it's an ultimately necessary one in order to reset back to a level playing field, reapproaching the story in a manner that respects Bungie's canon and storytelling methodology. 343 have already retconned so much of the story we know, this would be the one to finally course correct away from mistakes of the past. I've outlined some suggestions of what I'd like to see in future titles, but that's ultimately all they are. Suggestions. There's truly so much potential in the franchise narratively speaking. I just hope that Halo Studios can recognize and build on it in a satisfying way. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time seeing us, we primarily do a lot of original cinematic work and short film stuff here on the channel. So this is probably a bit of an unusual video for any long-time subscribers. But with the channel now offering memberships, we wanted to get back into doing what we made the channel to do in the first place, which is honestly just whatever we're interested in. We're really grateful that so many of you guys share those interests, so hopefully you'd be interested in seeing more content like this, maybe some behind the scenes and other stuff as well. Make sure to check out the membership tiers in order to see which kind of perks might interest you. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon.